Hi, I'm Coach Amber, and welcome to the MeetRx Success Story podcast. Today we have one of our own coaches, Coach Parveen. Welcome, Coach Parveen.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm so glad you're here. So, Parveen, tell us a little bit about what your life was like prior to starting a meat-based diet. Were you having any health issues, or was there something going on that made you have to go looking for something to, help fix some of the issues you were having?
You know, my journey really starts years ago where I had developed leaky gut and I was getting severe migraines, joint pain. I was reacting to all kinds of food. I had all kinds of environmental allergies to the point where I actually had to carry an EpiPen. So that became really, it got really scary for me for a while. And it got to a point where I just had a safe food list where I just was reacting to so many things. And so that actually got me on the path to just sort of, at the time, I didn't really know about ND naturopathic doctors. Had I known, I could have probably fixed a lot of my problems a lot sooner. But, the medical community just really failed me at every attempt where I tried to see a doctor, and they just really couldn't figure things out for me because they were treating isolated symptoms. So I just wasn't getting any results. So that kind of led me to my own personal research. And then that's when I kind of discovered that I had leaky gut or intestinal permeability. And so I was able to, I actually started out just on paleo. I was eating paleo mostly at the time. So this would have been about probably like 8 years ago now, maybe. It's been a long time. So that's really where most of my healing started. And I was doing a lot of bone broth, but I was eating lots of vegetables also, and mostly meat and vegetables. And that within like 3 months, I started really healing. I was doing high dose vitamin C. I was on the iodine protocol, and all of these things really, I was getting a lot of results very quickly. So fast forward about 5 years later, from that point, everything was going really well. And then my metabolic numbers started to decline again. And I was also hypothyroid at that time with Hashimoto's. And so, so then, I had refused taking medication. I just didn't really want to take any thyroid medication at the time. And I really thought that my diet would enable me to improve everything. And so I was just very resistant. I just kind of wanted to do everything the natural way. And so at that time, that's when my metabolic numbers started coming down. And also my thyroid numbers were coming down. And also my Hashimoto numbers were like, I had them in check and I thought I had it all figured out. And then just bam, they were all over the place. And so that's kind of like, that's where I was when I started the diet. I actually have a friend of mine, Matthew. Hi, Matthew. He's probably going to see this video. He kept sending me these videos of Dr. ShawnBaker. And this was really before he really kind of had a large following. He had a small following at that time. And I was just like, who is this guy? And it's like this little meathead picture I was looking at. This is when he was outside and recording himself. So I just never really paid much attention to it. And then finally one day I was like, okay, I should listen to this, because usually he's always a source of really good information for me. And then I just happened to have a test done at the time, which was the organic acid test it's like a urine test, which tests a lot of your amino acids. And that's when I discovered I had really high oxalates. And I was just at that point starting to do the research on that. And then I believe ShawnBaker had an interview with Sally Norton. And then that's when I just kind of put all the pieces together. I'm like, is it possible that I'm just really riddled with oxalates in my body? And that's why I'm starting to have all these problems again. And so that's really where I started. And then everything just sort of connected and I started putting the pieces together. And I started the Carnivore Diet. And for those of you that aren't familiar with oxalates, that's a plant toxin, which is, just crystallizes in your body. And so it was quite possible that this was the source of all my troubles, even, prior to all of this 10 years ago. And so that's when I thought maybe the Carnivore Diet might be something I should give a try.
Awesome. Wow. You did have quite a few issues there that you were dealing with.
I had a lot of issues. A lot. Yeah. And I wasn't sleeping well, just all kinds of problems. Yeah.
Oh, that doesn't sound fun. So when you started the Carnivore Diet, how did you implement it? Like, what were you eating and what did you include? What does a typical day look like? And did you have any transitional issues?
So I started quickly with, I just went a lot of I used to eat a lot of chicken, and I would eat a lot of, bacon and eggs. And then I just really, I actually started more with the red meat. I was gonna add to that the chicken for me over time, I just actually didn't enjoy eating it anymore. After eating a lot of red meat, chicken just tastes really bland to me. So even when I first started, I was doing more red meat. So I was doing a lot of ground beef. I would make my own burgers. I was doing a lot of steaks. I would cook a lot of shredded meat also in the slow cooker. Breakfast would be, more of a brunch for me. I would do a lot of eggs and bacon. And I'm a teacher, so it was a little bit hard for me at work. Like, what do I pack for work? So that was like the biggest challenge for me. So I used to really, I just like hot. I don't really enjoy cold meat. So I just, got myself a thermos and I just heat up my, whatever I've prepared the night before, I make extra and then I take that into work the next day. So I'll just chop it up and put it in my thermos and eat that. I pretty much eat just red meat. I really enjoy red meat. I haven't gotten tired of eating red meat. When I first started, I did run into trouble with a lot of diarrhea. So I was just having a really hard time. I never knew when it was going to happen. So I found that for me, I had to cut back on the fattier cuts of meat. And I think that really helped me get it in control. And I did add some digestive enzymes as well for a period of time. So I would use them on and off. And then I kind of was just able to find that sweet spot. I think I had to do a lot of experimentation. So like I knew when I had a ribeye, I would run into trouble. If I had brisket, I would run into trouble. So that's kind of when I made the connection that it was the fatty meat. And then I just would cut back on that. And just over time, I would say it lasted about 3 weeks for me off and on. And then it finally just kind of stopped. And now if I really go overboard with fatty cuts, I'll once in a while have an issue, but usually it's okay. I don't really have too much trouble with any of the cuts now. So I don't really eat a lot of pork. I'm open to eating, all cuts of meat. I just really don't enjoy pork that much outside of bacon. I do a little bit of seafood, but not that much. So fortunately for me, I live in an area where I have access to fresh milk. So I get unpasteurized milk from a farm that I go to. So I did add some dairy into my diet. I do have some hard cheeses and heavy cream also. I love my heavy cream. And I kind of just skim that off the top of the raw milk. It's really, really good. And there's actually some farms here that will ship to you. So I actually will get like fresh, unpasteurized cream from some farms. And I just freeze it and it actually stays really well. So I'll just keep it in my freezer and then add that to my, once in a while I'll still have tea. Tea is actually high in oxalates, but I had to cut back a little bit on my tea consumption. And now I've kind of eliminated it and I'll just have the occasional tea. And I'll also just have coffee as well once in a while. And if I'm craving some dessert, I'll just sort of mix a little cream with a little splash of honey just to get something. So yeah, that's kind of like where I am now. And I just find it really convenient. It's really easy. The food planning is minimal. I order a lot of the food, a lot of my cuts for meat I get online. Also, there's a farm near me. I'll go there as well. So I just sort of keep my freezer full with meat and I'm good to go. And it just kind of really has simplified my life a lot.
Oh, yes. Simplicity. Is that not the best? Just give me red meat and, okay, I admit cream. But, I could pretty much live without anything else. But those two things, yeah, they're kind of definitely. Okay, so after you implemented the diet and you had been doing it a while, what did you notice? Did you have any improvements? And was there anything that just really stood out that shocked you that you were absolutely not expecting?
Well, the first thing I really had to do was research this oxalate issue. So even though I had read about it, I watched a lot of interviews online. I actually even consulted with Sally Norton because it had gotten to the point where I was actually dumping a lot of oxalate and it became, it was interfering in my life. So some of the symptoms I had were, I would have debilitating just body aches everywhere, my legs, my arms. And then I get a lot of itchy bumps. So I was breaking out in a rash everywhere. They tend to break out on my legs everywhere. But even now, I've been carnivore for over 1.5 years and I'm still getting these little bumps. So when I go completely carnivore, I will still have dumping periods. So that was actually really hard for me. I had to consult with Sally Norton because I really didn't know how to manage it. So there are some key supplements that I was taking at the time So that actually really helped. And once I understood what to do, then it was a lot easier to understand how the oxalate dumping actually works. And it's also cyclical. And, I was drinking a lot of lemon juice, which helps dissolve the oxalates so that I don't develop any kidney stones. I was taking all the key supplements, which are the citrates, magnesium citrate, potassium, and some calcium. So now I just kind of cycle it in once in a while. I don't take it every day, but I am still dumping oxalates. So she even says, it can take 7 to 10 years to clear the body. And for me, my biggest challenge came when after the lockdown, I had to go back to work, unfortunately, and get up in the morning. And stress is actually will actually cause you to dump. So my very first day back to work, I had an incredible dump that day. So by the time I came home, I had a major headache. My whole body was aching. And, I have some tricks that I do to help. I'll take a cold shower sometimes. That'll get rid of the headache. But actually nothing was working for me that day. So it was a rough day. And, that's why I have to be really, really careful. I've always monitored my blood work. So I did notice once I went full carnivore that all my metabolic numbers were improving. My liver numbers were moving in the wrong direction. Same with my kidneys. So everything else was pretty much okay. One of the things that she did mention to me was that my Hashimoto's antibody numbers might start jumping up, because basically what's happening is when I stop eating the vegetables, the oxalate crystals will start releasing from the thyroid. And so this is one of the theories that they actually think that Hashimoto might be your thyroid is actually being attacked. You're confusing the body, so they're actually recognizing the oxalates, and and your body's thinking that your thyroid is under attack, when really it's the oxalates that are dumping. And even in a couple of studies, they have found I can't remember the exact number, but I know it's over 75% of the cadavers had crystallized oxalates in their thyroid. So my thyroid numbers actually improved. So the only thing I did have to do is manage the oxalate dumping still. So that's what I'm still doing now. I have found that I sleep better. Once I was in ketosis, I had a switch. My brain I just felt so happy. I was just really I just felt good. I wake up feeling great. I have so much energy. The mental stamina that I have throughout the day is really amazing. I can just keep going and going physically and mentally. So that's been a real plus for me, just because of the job that I have can be stressful at times. And it's just a really long day with work, and then usually still have to do more things. And then I want to exercise and do the things I love doing. My body composition improved. So, I do work out a lot, but if I don't work out, I still, I still look good. It looks like I'm still toned. I'm still, I still hold my shape with, my muscle tone, and I'm really enjoying that as well. Other than that, I'm not sure if I missed something, but yeah, those have been the primary benefits that I've noticed so far. And I do get my blood work still done every couple of months, because I like to just sort of keep tab on everything and make sure everything's, moving in the right direction still. So that's kind of where I am right now.
Great. So as a coach, you're automatically a member of MeatRx. Can you give me an idea of what you have benefited from? Like, is there something in particular that you really find has helped you by being on the platform?
Well, just the course in itself was really helpful, because you just learn a lot of, there's just a lot of details that you might not encounter, how to cater to someone how to manage the diet if you are, if you work out a lot, or people who are lifting weights. So actually, I enjoy a lot of the discussion threads where you can get a lot of ideas. I have a couple of friends who, ask me for advice at times on how to manage, how to use a little bit of carb before a workout, things like that. Also just recipes. Sometimes you just get really bored with your diet. So it's just, it's a great place to go to get new ideas for how to eat, and just, what are other people doing? How are they managing this diet? And just new tricks of the trade. Like I just recently bought I have a slow cooker already, but I'm just blanking on the name now. Shoot. Okay, I'm sorry. I just took the air fryer. I was just totally blanking on it. I just recently got it myself. And that actually has made it's, I would never have purchased one had I not, ran into some discussions on that. So that actually has been really helpful to me as well, just to sort of make things easier. When you need something to do quickly, it's great. So it's just, for me, it's been more a place to go to get new ideas and just to see what other people are doing. It has been really helpful. So it's just nice to sort of also be part of a community where everybody understands the lifestyle and, you know, how everyone eats and how they're managing it. So these have been, you know, it's been life-changing for me, and it's just great to meet other people who are of like mind. And, you know,
Absolutely.
diet.
I,
Yeah. People sort of
yeah,
roll their eyes at me when I tell them what I eat. So they just really don't understand it. And I even feel like, I actually can identify oxalate symptoms pretty quickly. And when you run into people who have just tried everything, and that's kind of like where I was, and it's still not working for you, I really feel that oxalates could, you know, be an issue for them. And I'm really familiar with a lot of the symptoms as well. So it's kind of nice to be able to offer that to people, but they still won't listen to you unless they're really, once they hit rock bottom, then they'll start, start looking at other options. But it's been,
yeah, for sure. Okay, so as a coach, what would a client expect from you? What is your philosophy? What do you have to offer someone who is looking for help?
I really like to look at the whole picture. So I kind of like, I like to ask, what I actually do is a side business on myself as well. And I do iridology, where I read the iris of my clients, and which reveals your strength and weaknesses in the body. I like to look at their lifestyle and see, first of all, what their background is. I want to see the whole picture. Where are they what kind of a job do they have? What kind of access do they have to food? What are the stressors in their life, and what have they tried also. So I kind of want to first of all, just get an idea of where they're coming from. I don't want to just go right in it and tell them how to eat. I also want to look at what's the background and what are the things that are going to be challenging for them, because I might be able to offer a variety of solutions to them, for them in those areas. So I really like to get to know my clients and just sort of see what the challenges are that they've been facing so far, and then go from there, and then offer them a variety of solutions to tackle those problems. Because, I've been at this for over 10 to 15 years now, trying a variety of things. So I feel like I do have a lot of knowledge. I know where to point people. I can give them, a variety of sources of information, and then they can choose, to decide what they want to do with that information. But I have a wealth of knowledge, and I have access to a lot of great information that I've saved over the years. So sometimes it's just a matter of connecting the dots, because they might, they might not be aware of certain things, or even oxalates. I would love to be able to help those that want to try this diet but have run into trouble with oxalates. I'm actually a part of the online group Carnivore Diet for Beginners, and that's kind of like where I started. And I've been actively involved in that group for over a year and a half now. So I've actually helped a lot of people there as well that have run into significant problems. They had no clue about oxalates. So that's definitely an area that if somebody needs help in, I can offer a lot of information and advice and point them in the right direction as well.
Well, great. And so y'all heard it. If you're looking for a coach, and especially if you need some help with oxalate dumping, you know who to contact. So all her information will be below, so you can contact her. And Coach Parveen, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story.
Thank you very much. This has been a pleasure to discuss what I've gone through and hopefully help other people as well.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.